This is RB.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima is going on.
Welcome to our show. It is Tuesday, November 10th, 2020, getting on toward the end of the month, getting on to Thanksgiving for those places who are allowed to actually have one here. And it's a very murky day here in Indiana. The rain is coming down, thunderstorms coming on in. It seems almost appropriate weather for the news that we're looking at because the circus is just continuing here. And we're going to get into that. We have a lot of news to cover. We may not take phone calls until hour number 2 because I really want to get through all of these news points and clear up the list a little bit. Anyway, Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials, keeping us out of trouble. And let's just get right on into it. Now, yesterday it was announced that Attorney General Barr is authorizing federal prosecutors to pursue substantial allegations of voting irregularities before the 2020 election is certified. This is coming from AP. Now, before we all start throwing confetti and celebrating, Fox News earlier reported that Barr had told some of his associates at the Department of Justice that he didn't think there was enough election fraud to alter the outcome. And that is a mantra we are going to be hearing in the near future. They started out trying to say it's impossible to rig elections. And of course, nobody's buying that whatsoever. So the limited hangout now is, yeah, there was some election fraud, but it wasn't enough to change the outcome. And they've used that one as well in the past. And so, you know, they're going from some very, very old playbooks. I mean, you know, mail-in ballot fraud goes back to Abraham Lincoln's campaign for re-election. They tried to knock him out of the presidency with forged mail-in ballots. So, yeah, it's got a very long and ignoble history here. So great if some of the federal prosecutors are going to find something. The key word there is substantial. Because all Barr has to do is look at a case and say, well, that's not substantial. And I frankly don't trust the guy. I really, really don't. All right, so we have yet more stories of election fraud coming up. It's still increasing. It's on the increase. More and more people, apparently encouraged by Project Veritas and other sources that are coming out with this stuff, they're coming forward here. And apparently there was another watcher from Detroit who reported again at 4:30 in the morning on November 4th, tens of thousands of ballots were delivered in cars with out-of-state license plates. And the poll watcher said that unlike the normal ballots, which were being brought in through the front door of the building, these were all hauled in through the rear here. And they had noticed that every single ballot that was in those boxes that were delivered was for Joe Biden. Okay, now apparently Donald Trump has launched a lawsuit alleging that 682,000 mail-in and absentee ballots were received and processed without any review in Pennsylvania. And so this is really getting ugly. Now, Pennsylvania House GOP members are calling for a legislative-led audit of the state election results, and they're demanding the results not be certified nor electors be seated until the audit is complete. So we'll see what happens there. But people are standing up and they're fighting back against what is clearly the largest election fraud in U.S. history. And I remember back in 2016 when we were seeing all the election fraud to try and put Hillary into the White House. And I made the comment back then that, you know, election fraud can only swing election a few points one way or the other, because if they try and reverse a landslide, everybody sees what they're doing. Well, that's apparently what they tried to do in 2020, reverse a Trump landslide, and everybody saw it. Everybody caught it. Over in Nevada, a whistleblower who worked in the Clark County Elections Department listed a series of incidents of nefarious behavior they witnessed in the days leading up to the election, including poll workers processing illegitimate ballots, as well as non-poll workers forming a human wall near a Biden Harris van to block the view of individuals purportedly filling out what appeared to be more ballots outside of the counting center. Pardon me. Another sworn affidavit, whistleblower from Clark County Elections, is claiming Nevada poll workers fabricated proof of residence data for illegal immigrant voters. Now, so far, Nevada's Attorney General, Aaron D. Ford, has taken no action to investigate these claims. Do you get the impression the entire system is crooked and corrupt, that we do, in fact, have a government made up of warring criminal families? Because that's what it's looking like to me. Anyway, over in Georgia, GOP Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler are calling for the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to resign because of all the irregularities there. Now, apparently, most of Biden's 221,000 vote margin gain in Georgia occurred in 3 counties that received $15 million from the Zuckerberg-funded Safe Elections Project. And, it occurs to me we don't need to worry about Russia interfering with our elections, or China interfering with our elections, or Iran interfering with our elections. It's these American billionaires who are interfering with our elections. And maybe it's time to sanction them or invade and bomb them because this is a very serious business. Now, John Solomon is out there saying that Mark Zuckerberg sent at least $350 million to election judges in mostly Democratic areas. All right. Again, back in Fulton County, where there's a lot going on here, election officials told the media and the observers they were shutting down the tabulation center at 10:30 p.m. on election night. And so the media and the poll watchers all left, but it turns out they continued counting or faking ballots in secret until 1 o'clock in the morning. So all of this media claim that there was no evidence of election fraud. They're gaslighting you is what they're doing. Okay. Now, GoFundMe the other day canceled a GoFundMe page to help fund recounts and investigations into the elections. Just cut it right off. And now the GoFundMe account for the whistleblower mail carrier Richard Hopkins in Pennsylvania had his account put on hold and cannot withdraw funds. Now, he set that up because obviously, having gone public on the election fraud, his future is very much in doubt. Doesn't know if he's going to be able to get a job or what kind of retaliation is going to happen to him. So he set up a GoFundMe account, which people were donating to, and GoFundMe just shut it down. The entire system really is corrupt. Over in Ohio, the Attorney General is asking the United States Supreme Court to overturn the ruling that extended the deadline for mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania. And this is significant because, as it turns out, under Pennsylvania's Constitution, their state Supreme Court did not have authority to extend the deadline. Only the state legislature could have done that. So it was fake to begin with. If it gets to the U.S. Supreme Court, they're definitely going to shut that down. And we're seeing another article. This is from Madness Hub regarding the Dominion voting machines. And I know there's a lot of attention being focused on, I guess it's called Hatchet and the other one from the CIA. But it looks like these Dominion machines were a major part of data manipulation. And they've had at least three reported instances where votes were moved from Republicans to Democrats, another instance where votes disappeared. And they're now concerned that the Dominion voting machines and applications, which were used in multiple states, are fraudulent and, rigged. And there's a lot of wrongdoing, and yet states were encouraged to transition to these Dominion machines over the past few years. Now, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and Senator Feinstein from California both have an interest in the Dominion voting machines. So it's no surprise they were being promoted around the United States. One board member of Dominion was Obama's ambassador to the European Union and is now on the board of Warner Media and CNN. Now, South Carolina implemented Dominion machines right before the South Carolina Democrat primary, where Biden won his first primary ever after multiple attempts at the presidency. Now, although there are continuing assurances that voting machines are not connected to the internet, we have over the past week had a lot of testimony where people are finding Wi-Fi connectors and routers hooked to the voter machines, which connect them to the internet. Even NBC reported that the Dominion is one system that is connected to the internet. There is no reason for these machines to be connected to the internet and every reason for them not to be, or to not have Wi-Fi. Basically, it's an open door for vote manipulation. Now, poll watchers over in Wayne County have filed a lawsuit alleging Detroit officials knowingly committed mass voter fraud. Another article that's coming on out from Madness Hub, system glitches favoring Democrats are becoming an epidemic across the swing states. More incidents identified today. Now, here's something to keep in mind. If these were just computer errors, you would statistically expect as many errors favoring Trump and the Republicans as favoring Joe Biden and the Democrats. But all of these glitches, errors, and so forth always seem to favor the Democrats and Joe Biden. All righty. Apparently over in Pennsylvania, there was a 40,000 vote swing to Biden from Trump. Down in Virginia, totals were decreased by 373,000 votes. And now over in Wisconsin, around 13,400 votes had to be opened and read and counted due to the system simply glitching. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, I've been a programmer. I write code, okay? And I've written a lot of code in my lifetime for some very sophisticated things. And I don't see any way that somebody can write a program to count pips on cards and simply total them up and have it not come out accurate unless it is by intent. So again, and all of these voting machine companies, they won't let anybody inspect their source code. And even if they put out source code for inspection, there's no way to verify that the compiled binaries are coming from that particular version of the source code. There was even a hack done some years ago where somebody altered the compiler itself, where you could put in perfectly honest vote counting code and the compiler would add the hack to allow it to be altered. So, I mean, it's very, very sneaky stuff. I think first of all, I think we ought to go back to hand counting. If you've read my article, How to Have Honest Elections, that's what it's based on. But if you're going to have computers, I think there should be a national standard voting machine that works on an interpreter so that the source code is legible and readable by ordinary Americans. Like I said, it's not that difficult a thing to do. Over in Michigan, Senator Patrick Colbeck gives a sworn testimony saying they've got visual confirmation routers and Wi-Fi connectors used throughout TCF Center during the ballot counting. No reason for that to be there at all, none whatsoever. Over in Michigan, their Attorney General Dana Nessel sends a cease and desist order to the journalist demanding he erase his Detroit Leaks video showing voter fraud training or face criminal prosecution. Now, we had a caller call into the show about this just yesterday, where there's this video somebody made of the training session for the poll workers, in which they were told to keep, the poll watchers at least 6 feet away, claiming it was for COVID-19. Somebody in the audience apparently asked, how can they see what we're doing without binoculars? And apparently the poll trainer laughed at that. But apparently the Michigan Attorney General doesn't like the fact that that video is all over the net and has sent this cease and desist letter to Big League Politics about this video. Now, the reporter who broke the story, Shane Trejo, was also one who was a witness for the voter fraud in Detroit. And he says this is basically witness intimidation. And he's absolutely right. It doesn't matter. The video's already gone viral. It's all over the net. There is no taking it back. Anyway, let's see. Trump campaign has filed a lawsuit in Pennsylvania alleging the creation and implementation of an illegal two-tiered voting system for the election. Now, here is a breaking story from earlier today. And apparently, as they go through Pennsylvania, correcting the problems, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more, Pennsylvania has been moved back to the undecided category. And without Pennsylvania, Biden loses his president-elect status. And this is over Real Clear Politics, who are saying basically that Pennsylvania is still up for grabs. And they're trying to cover their earlier transgression by insisting that they never called Pennsylvania for Biden in the first place. Well, certainly corporate media did. And just before showtime, I checked, and they're all out there saying, yes, Biden's won Pennsylvania here. Ken Starr has come on out saying that this Pennsylvania ballot extension is a constitutional travesty. And this gets back to the comment I was making earlier about how the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court cannot change the deadlines for the election. Only the legislature can do that. Another system glitch also uncovered in Wisconsin, and the reversal of swapped votes also takes the lead away from Joe Biden. So it's narrowing up, and again, they're finding these problems. They're trying to call them glitch or human error. It isn't. It's cheating. It's cheating. Sidney Powell is out there saying that they have identified 450,000 ballots that only have a vote for Joe Biden. None of the other contests are filled in. Senators, state representatives, House of Representatives, none of them. They're all blank. There's one vote per ballot, and that's for Joe Biden. That, of course, is suspicious on the face of it. Over in Arizona, state representative calls on the Maricopa GOP chairman to step down upon news that she failed to show up to certify the Dominion voting machines. And yes, absolutely. You remember, I think it was Volkswagen got caught years ago with software that when they knew they were being tested for emissions, it produced one result. And then when you were out on the road, it did something else here. You could do the same thing in this election software. When it's being validated or tested, it produces accurate results. And then once it's in the real election, it produces something else. And that is probably a very good reason why all of these voting machine companies refuse to allow a code inspection. Okay, another story. This actually came from Mission Substack. Apparently, a resourceful American using the Twitter handle, Some Bitch I Know, has uncovered what appears to be one of the ways fake votes were harvested in the 2020 election when she discovered that her mother's vote had been cast under her mother's maiden name. Now, she posted her discovery using hashtag Maidengate, and apparently other women checked their ballot status under their maiden names at previous addresses and found ballots had been generated in their name as well. So that's another way they were faking the elections. Up in Oregon, their elections director, Stephen Trout, basically reported to the elections commission, rather, the Secretary of State, that there were problems with the Oregon system. It was getting old and it was vulnerable to cheating, and he was immediately fired for that. And here's where it really gets down, and you need to think about this a lot. There's a poll that has been taken. Less than half of Americans believe Joe Biden is the legitimate winner of the election. And that's something to think about. So this idea of convincing us this election was honest and verifiable, that has not happened. We're going to take a break for commercials, and we will be right back.
We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the energy cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an energy cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
Welcome back to our show here. And again, a reminder that, pardon me, Republic Broadcasting Network is in the middle of a fundraiser. And as you can tell right now, the war is definitely on between independent media and corporate media. Corporate media is struggling. Their credibility is just basically down in the garbage disposal right now. And the American public is getting ready to throw that switch. And so they're in a panic right now to find a way to silence independent media so they can go back to lying to you, the American people, with impunity. So we need your help to keep going here. You know, for want of a nail, the kingdom fell, and so forth and so on. So once again, the postal address for a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. Okay, we're probably not going to start taking phone calls until the top of the hour because I got a lot of stuff to get through here. And Fox News is once again reporting on the memo from Attorney General Barr talking about investigating voting irregularities. And from the way it's written, it's very obvious that Barr doesn't really want to do this, but feels he has to because of the hue and cry from the American people. And again, asserts that the Department of Justice does not believe that the voting irregularities have impeded any election, which, depending upon your definition of impeded, may or may not be a little bit of a fib on his part. Now, getting on back to the crooked elections here, talk about pot calling kettle black. Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko, commenting on our elections, said, the bastion of democracy, look at what's going on with this election. It's a shame, a mockery of democracy. And basically, he's asking if the OSCE will demand a revote, which is what they did in Belarus. And I mention this because my concern is that absent a really clear resolution of this situation, we could wind up like Belarus with riots in the street for months on end. I would really not want to see that. But again, the Belarusians were very angry. They knew their election was fraudulent. The American people know this election was fraudulent. Again, it's kind of hard to predict where this is going to go. Now, interestingly enough, getting on back to Attorney General Barr, in response to Bill Barr's memo, apparently Richard Pilger, who oversees voter fraud investigations for the Department of Justice, has quit. And he says, having familiarized myself with the new policy and its ramifications, I must regretfully resign from my role as director of the Elections Crimes Branch. Now, the only reason I can think for him to resign is if he was told from on high, you will not find anything suspicious. Over at Fox News, pardon me, the White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, was giving a press conference and started to talk about the election results and election fraud, and Fox News cut away from her. Didn't want the American people to see what the White House press secretary had to say about current events. Tucker Carlson, against his own network, blasted Neil Cavuto for cutting away from the press conference. And Tucker said, you can't just cut away from coverage you don't like. Force doesn't work in a democracy. That's a dictatorship. Telling voters to shut up is never enough. And good for Tucker Carlson. I hope he can keep his job. Depends on his contract. And not too surprisingly, Fox News ratings are in a major decline. They crashed on Saturday. People are going over to Newsmax TV right now and seeking other places where they can find out what's really going on. Because, Fox News, they definitely went over to the dark side, especially with what Neil Cavuto did here. In fact, all of the Rupert Murdoch-owned media has now turned on Trump, and they're trying to coerce him into cooperating with the coup d'etat against him. And so the message is being carried by Fox News, Wall Street Journal, New York Post, so forth and so on. Okay. Now, a lot of the evidence for election fraud that has been posted to the internet, posted at whatreallyhappened.com, involves, video captures from the live coverage of the election, which captured votes disappearing, votes being moved. And apparently the corporate media outlets have now pulled all of those live voting update feeds because too many Americans were watching the vote switching. So they're already in CYA mode here. Yesterday, we had a caller that said, go over to the FCC and file complaints against these TV stations and networks. And I said that wasn't going to work depending upon who was in charge of the FCC. But apparently, Republicans have started filing FCC complaints over networks proclaiming Biden the president-elect. We'll be back after these commercials.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org. So you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The Republic Broadcasting Network late night premiere show of Red Pill Hardcore is hosted by activists that want to hear from you, the listeners. So that you can get involved in the activism, please call in at 800-313-9443 at 10 p.m. to enter the discussion. To book yourself as a guest, call our studio at 202-657-5715 or contact RBN staff. Remember, keep it real and take the red pill.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cachingproperty.com. That's cachingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Nikki, great product. Have to try it for a few months to see results. After taking Extendovite for about 6 months, I have noticed improvement on the numbness of my hands and wrists from carpal tunnel. I will continue to buy the product. Ken Peaks, 5 out of 5 stars. Works as advertised. This formula is very powerful. Be careful to follow directions. I am feeling much better. My heart rate and blood pressure has stabilized and my lower edema has reduced. Lower leg pain due to blood clots has disappeared. Thank you. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Born in the city with a silver spoon, great-grandson of the oil tycoon, raised by wolves, thinks he owns the moon, socialist banker to the one-world goons, Davy Rockefeller, chairman of the CFR.
All right, welcome back to our show here. And again, a reminder, we're not going to be taking phone calls until the top of the hour because I got a lot of stuff to get through here. And apparently, former Obama Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes has admitted that Joe Biden is already speaking with foreign leaders as if he is the next president, which is a breach of the Logan Act because he can't be president until at least January 21st. Now, this is the same law that General Mike Flynn was prosecuted under. So it's another classic case of Democrats saying, do as we say, don't do as we do. All right, for those of you who are near Washington, D.C., on Saturday, November 14th, there's going to be a March for Trump, Freedom Plaza at noon. It's a Stop the Steal march. And I understand there are rallies for Trump happening all across the country, but this is going to be a big one. And the more people show up, the stronger the message it's going to be sent to the halls of Congress. All right, so enough politics for now. Let's talk about COVID-19. And apparently in Australia, the latest lockdown protest in Melbourne was brutal. The police trapped, pepper sprayed, beat, and arrested and fined 400 attendees. Now, interestingly enough, we've been talking about this before, that as the COVID-19 numbers go up, the flu numbers have rather amazingly gone down. And it led to the speculation that maybe a lot of these so-called COVID-19 cases is actually just the seasonal flu. And it's being mislabeled to generate the numbers and generate the fear, which the Democrats have been exploiting as part of this election. And now that the election is over, I'm kind of expecting this whole COVID-19 is going to start fading away. But apparently, the CDC has decided to stop tracking all flu cases for the 2020-2021 flu season. All righty. Over in Paris, apparently health officials are talking about canceling Christmas and New Year's, and basically saying stay home, don't go to parties, don't go to New Year's parties, and you know, that will basically be that. So the Grinch is definitely out there riding the COVID virus there. England has locked down again, the second lockdown, new harsher measures, and apparently the last night before it went into effect, drinkers were spilling into the streets, you know, from the pubs as they closed here. Another little article, this one is from Scoopy Web, talking about Shelley Tasker from Camborne, Cornwall, resigned from the Treliske Hospital Healthcare, and she made a speech outside the Truro Cathedral saying they've closed down all of Cornwall for just 3 people in the hospital, and said that the reality is there's been no work for 3 weeks at the so-called peak of the pandemic, and has accused the National Health Service of being overrun with all lies. Well, I think we're getting, you know, the feeling now that the entire upper levels of society all over the planet are corrupted, and they're compromised, and they're being controlled, because this whole COVID-19 thing is a truly global fear campaign. Okay, little story, this one coming out of Electronic Intifada. With Donald Trump still disputing his loss of the election, there's been a lot of attention to which foreign leaders congratulated the winners after the race was called on Saturday. And apparently, Netanyahu has joined the club of congratulating Biden, expecting that Joe Biden's love affair with Israel will pick up where it left off. Now, as far as Netanyahu congratulating Biden and not waiting for the legal process to work its way out, talk about a backstab. I mean, after everything Trump did for Israel, much of which American people disagreed with, but he did a lot for Israel, and Netanyahu is just going to throw him in the trash can. He's all used up, and they're going to go on with Biden here. Now, an Israeli official, their settlement minister, Tzaki Hanagbi, who's a member of the Likud party, is saying that if Joe Biden goes back to the Iran nuclear deal, it's going to result in a war between Israel and Iran, which would, of course, open the door for the much sought after and desired American war with Iran. Apparently, Israel has raised another village. Apparently, during the elections, on election day, when everybody was peeking the other way, Israeli forces arrived in the occupied West Bank community of Kirbet Humsa and destroyed 76 structures. They included homes, kitchens, bathrooms, animal shelters, and solar panels. Over in Azerbaijan, we mentioned last week they had shot down a Russian attack helicopter over Armenia, and Azerbaijan has now apologized and said it was a friendly fire accident. It happened at night, you know, fog of war and all the rest of that. Still no comment on that from Russia, other than that Russia has announced that Azerbaijan and Armenia have struck a deal to end the conflict over Nagorno-Karabakh, and that Russian peacekeepers are being deployed along the line of contact. And the deal comes after multiple violations of previous ceasefire deals. So once again, Putin is proving he's a statesman rather than a politician. NATO has declared that a Biden White House will confront the assertive Russia. So, oh goody, another war, you know, this one with Russia. And again, they're going from the media declaration that he is the president, forgetting that the media does not have the authority to choose the president, even though that is exactly what they are trying to do. The United States has removed the East Turkestan Islamic Movement from its list of terrorist organizations. They did that actually last October 20th. They only made the move public last Thursday. And apparently ETIM is an Uyghur Muslim group that was designated a terrorist organization due to suspected links to Al-Qaeda in 2002. So everybody's getting put on the list and taken off the list and so forth and so on. U.S. troops have set foot in Taiwan, at least officially, for the first time since 1979 recognition of the One China policy. And Taiwan's Naval Command confirmed media reports that a contingent of U.S. Marines have arrived at the invitation of Taiwan's military and will begin training Taiwanese troops for 4 weeks starting that day. And this is the first public acknowledgement of U.S. soldiers training in Taiwan for over 40 years. Boy, remember how we got stuck in Vietnam? They were advisors and trainers. They weren't actually in combat. Anyway, let's see. We already talked about that. Now, here is an interesting story. There have been some photos circulating taken with telephoto lenses near Edwards Air Force Base, and one of them showed what looked like the B-2 planiform, the wing structure aircraft, but painted white, suggesting it's the replacement for the SR-71. But according to this story coming out of Fox News, the Air Force's new 6th generation aircraft has taken to the skies. Apparently, it went out and did a testing flight in combination with an F-35. And they're saying, what does this mean for the problem-plagued F-35 and F-22? It means that they spent a lot more of your money on the next boondoggle. And they still have not identified who's actually producing the 6th generation stealth fighter. They're saying it's for security reasons, but more than likely it's going to be either Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, or Boeing that has put this together. Not many other companies capable of doing that. Now, this happened yesterday, and I'm just getting to it today, but Trump has fired Secretary of Defense Mark Esper. And he announced on Twitter Monday that he fired SecDef Mark Esper. Christopher Miller, who serves as director of the National Counterterrorism Center, is being the acting Secretary of Defense effective immediately. Now, Esper had this increasingly tense relationship with Trump, which led him to prepare a letter of resignation weeks ago to fashion a graceful exit in the event the president decided to fire him, but the president fired him anyway. Meanwhile, a Pentagon top policy official has resigned after a clash with the White House following the Esper firing. And this is the top policy official, James Anderson, resigned, according to Politico. And basically, so he's out now. We're probably going to see a lot of people getting fired or resigning in the next several weeks here. Getting into the economic news here, and I'm not sure if this is really good or bad, but American Airlines has decided to quietly start bringing back the 737 MAX. And of course, flying in an airliner involves an absolute trust in the technology and the people who pilot it. And, you know, we had all these problems with the Boeing 737. It's now been identified there was a serious design flaw regarding the placement of the new larger engines more forward on the wing nacelles, which made it unstable, coupled with a software glitch that prevented the pilots from being able to recover from the stall that they experienced. So Boeing may bring it back. I don't know that they're going to sell a great many of them. Over at ESPN, they are cutting 500 jobs. The network is blaming COVID-19. which strikes me as very odd because people staying home from, sports fans staying home because of COVID-19 are more likely to tune into ESPN, but they're having to cut 500 jobs. Now, what ESPN is not mentioning is the loss of audience due to all the woke messaging that is being flashed at viewers. They don't want to see that stuff. They watch sporting events for distraction and escapism, and they don't tune into these games to be lectured at. Russia is complaining that SpaceX is price dumping by cutting launch prices 30%. Well, actually, Russia is going to cut their launch prices 30%. So there's a price war now going on. And Russian Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Rogozin, head of the country's space program, has been complaining about SpaceX and its ultra-low prices for years, and he wants to do something about it. Well, if you can make it work, I'm a great believer in competition. Competition improves quality and lowers prices. Getting into science and energy news here. This is from Dilling Poll. Renewable energy is cripplingly expensive, hopelessly unreliable, massacres wildlife, destroys landscapes, destabilizes the grid, harms indigenous peoples, and causes climate change. But outside of that, it's a really, really good idea. And this apparently is a review published in the scientific journal Energies by a team of Irish and US-based researchers. And the part about renewable energy being great is obviously a joke, but the rest is true. They're looking at all the problems. One of the examples I like to use, of course, is ethanol gasoline, which they promised was going to be carbon neutral because you're converting plant matter into ethanol, and it burns into the sky, and new plants eat it all back up. Well, plants eat the carbon coming out of regular gasoline as well. And as it turns out, ethanol gasoline destroyed the fuel systems on older cars. Newer cars are built to handle that, but a lot of damage was done. People had to have some very expensive repairs to their car. Ethanol fuels contain a lot less chemical energy than gasoline, so you have to buy and burn more of it to accomplish the same amount of work. And when you factor in the carbon footprint from the actual processing of the plant matter into ethanol, it's no longer carbon neutral. That's just one example. Now, I'm a great believer in solar panels and batteries, but we're still waiting for that breakthrough that would lead us to 90% efficient solar cells. We keep hearing rumors and little teases that somebody has accomplished it, and then it just seems to magically go away. Okay, over in Copenhagen, a University of Copenhagen chemist has invented a cutting-edge technology that uses carbon dioxide to convert seawater into drinking water within minutes. This is a new desalination technology, and it replaces electricity with carbon dioxide. They're going to be able to use it in survival gear and large-scale industrial plants in areas where people lack clean drinking water. Now, this is Ji-Woong Lee of the University of Copenhagen's Department of Chemistry has invented this new technology. And that sounds like a major, major breakthrough for two reasons. It's not using electricity. And two, it's sucking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, which is going to make Al Gore very, very, very happy. All right. Now, after scaling back the cleanup plan for one of the country's most contaminated areas, the Trump administration is now preparing to sidestep any remediation at all by declaring the entire nearly 3,000-acre former rocket and nuclear testing site near Los Angeles a culturally significant site for Native Americans. And Trump, I'm sorry, I have to wag my finger at you on it. This is the Santa Susana Field Laboratory. It is heavily toxic. It was the site of a partial nuclear meltdown in 1959. But it contains a cave featuring Native American pictographs that is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And so basically using this, they're saying that NASA does not have to clean up the site, which would be prohibitively expensive. So anyway, living here in Indiana, we're on the southwestern edge of the New Madrid seismic zone. And apparently over in Missouri, YouTuber Michael Jurij actually issued an earthquake warning for the New Madrid seismic zone because of a swarm of earthquakes that was detected middle of last week. And we do get quakes here in Indiana, not big ones, but if the New Madrid fault lets go, yeah, we're going to have some bad ones. Now, the swarm of quakes hit near the town of Success, Arkansas, and ranged from 2.0 to 2.6 in magnitude, which is, barely, you can barely feel that. All righty, now this is going to be of interest to David Crucial Nonsense. Apparently, ham radio. Oh, my goodness, we got to take a break for commercials, and we will be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855, the number 2, keep it today.
Hey gang, Patrick Slattery here with an important message that is pertinent to anyone who shops for groceries, eats food, or just has an inquisitive mind like myself. What I'm about to introduce you to is a segment of our food culture that has been kept so low profile to the American public that virtually no one is aware of how dominant it is on our refrigerator and cupboard shelves. What I'm talking about is the kosher certification industry and a new app, Koshertified, that delivers a comprehensive education on all aspects regarding this little-known practice. After reviewing this app, I found that it is useful for practically anyone who purchases food, regardless of their religious faith or identity. Its database of products not kosher certified is a win-win convenience for all food-conscious people. So why not check out the kosherquestion.com or click on the link at nationalbugle.com and see how modifying your grocery shopping with the Koshertified app can make a huge difference for your future.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Welcome back to our show here, and we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines now. And when we went to commercial break, we were talking about this article that came out of ClickWoo's WordPress.com. And it's saying, government officials want to ban ham radio. And that is a very strange thing because ham radio is the single most reliable and effective means of communication in an emergency and has been for over 100 years. Ham radio has been around since the 1890s. And people around the world talk with each other. There are all kinds of radio clubs, and they just sort of a little community to themselves. But one of the things that they do is they provide military personnel in hazardous duty postings a means of talking to their families back home. And when other communications fail, it is the ham radio operators who provide emergency communications to the nations. And, banning ham radio is going to cost lives. Ham radio operators work with the National Weather Service to report weather events like tornadoes. These are all essential services. And we know that over the years, some of the ham bans have been taken away and given to corporations. But I think the reason that the government wants ham radio to go away is because it is something they can't censor and they can't control what people are talking about. They can filter email and they can have social media, take things down. But ham radio, unless they want to jam it like the old Soviet Union, they really can't do much about it. And the part that is probably the most of concern to the government right now is what's called packet radio, where you use computers to communicate with each other using the ham radio instead of the internet. And that means that as the internet becomes more and more controlled by the government, people who don't want to be controlled by the government will go to ham radio, and they'll probably bring back FidoNet on ham radio, and we'll have basically internet as it originally was, with email and UUCP and all kinds of stuff going on there. But obviously the government is trying to cut down any communications that is not under their control right now. And I got to tell you, that's dictatorship. It really is dictatorship, just like they had in the old Soviet Union, which I need to point out again, no longer exists because of the abuses that they committed here. All right, now there is a mini moon orbiting the Earth. Actually, we're all familiar with the moon, the big moon. And a lot of people don't know that our Earth will occasionally capture other pieces of planetary debris and asteroids that will orbit the Earth for a short time and then escape back out into space. But the one called 2020 SO is suspected of being space junk. And they're studying it, and they think it may be the upper rocket stage of the Surveyor 2. Boy, that would be a prize for the Smithsonian. All right, we got to take a break for station identification. We got callers on the line. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. I was right 30 years ago in warning the world about threatening lab virus outbreaks, AIDS, and Ebola. I was right 20 years ago when FBI Director Robert Mueller made me a suspect in the anthrax mailings because I warned the Bureau before the CIA's biocrime and Cipro sales psyops happened. I was right about COVID-19 being an AIDS-laced mutagen plan to resurge this fall to excuse officials' profitable depopulation globalization agendas. And I was right about the only safeguards being antioxidants and holy spiritual sustenance. Vitamin C, D, zinc, chlorophyll, oxygen, and oxysilver especially transmits the frequency resonance to neutralize the expanded function bioweapon. Oxysilver is a double superconductor of the healing power of love. It is the first nutraceutical invented to amplify prayer power and the faithful, loving intention of your heart. Buy, try, and stockpile Oxy Silver through HealthyWorldStore.com.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
Welcome to the Michael Rivero What Really Happened radio program.
And welcome to our show here. And we're going to start taking phone calls. And we're going to start with Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Mike, what's going on? Hey, listen, I don't know if you know, you heard that Trump fired Secretary of Defense Esper yesterday.
Yes.
Yesterday today, I'm not sure. I have a opinion on that. I think that Trump is so determined now not to let them steal this election from him, and as the last resort, he will declare martial law. He's going to appeal to Americans, loyal Americans, like those people that are going to be gathering in Washington and are on their way up there right now, led by Owen Schroyer of InfoWars. And he knows he has 70-something million people, legitimate voters, not fake voters, voting for him. And I believe he'll do it. And you know what? I never thought I would support something like this. But right now, rather than have Biden, who basically said he's going to declare martial law anyway, because that's what a lockdown really is. Forcible vaccines, all that. Not that he'll be able to do it, because he would have absolutely no credibility. If somehow he does manage to steal it and they manage to smuggle him into the White House, he would be facing a civil war right there and then.
Yes.
Police would know that they could not bully people around like they do in Australia and Britain and other places, because they're who's got a Second Amendment. And but I believe that might be what Trump fired him for, because he's probably getting ready just in case worst comes to worst. And you know what? He would have, I believe, most of the military, at least military that would count in something like this, the mid-level officers and enlisted men, and especially the combat units.
Yes.
Really, which is important. Infantry, airborne, combat Marines, and maybe even military police, people like that. Actually, well, they're not really combat arms military police, they're support, but they're close. Especially infantry, special forces, airborne infantry, rangers, people like that. Those are the people that would, I believe, support him. So he could actually do it, and I believe that's what he's preparing for, because this is disgusting. I mean,
yes,
what they're trying
is.
to do more and more be the fraud. I mean, this is total fraud, and this I won't use the words. This sorry, you know what?
Yeah.
Now has a goal to say he's going to lock down the country on top of it. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on. And by the way, he's talking about Lukashenko before, the Prime Minister of Belarus.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you this. I admire that guy. That's one of my main men when it comes to world leaders. All right. And I don't believe his election was a fraud. I think he's popular. I think the fraud there is that the same people that are trying to steal this election here in this country, a lot of the same people that were behind trying to overthrow Lukashenko there in Belarus, and he just wasn't going to stand for it. He stood strong, and he also told the World Bank, not the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the International Mafia Fund, really. He told them where to go when they tried to bribe him to go along with all these lockdowns and stuff. It's so obvious what this is all about. Now, he's one of the great leaders in the world today. You know what I mean? Why they don't just... Well, for all intents and purposes, they're now pretty much back in the Russian... we call it the Russian Republic for all intents and purposes now. And I'm telling you, this guy is a good guy, a really great man. And I don't believe... and again, it also shows you, like I've said before, This is not socialism and communism that's trying to take over this country, because he is a socialist. Lukashenko is very close to the old Soviet type, except, they do have a certain amount of democracy there. This is much worse than communism, socialism, or even fascism. This is a global, what do you call it again? Technocratic, unhuman type of system. Huh?
Oligarchy.
Transhuman oligarchy, exactly. That basically wants to pretty much enslave us and slowly but surely kill us all. Okay, and because, like you said before, they think it would be good for the earth. These are crazy people, Mike. These are the type of people you read Rainbow Six, right? I wish they would have made a movie out of it.
Yeah.
Awesome book. And I mean, this describes these people to a T. These are madmen. These people have got to be stopped. And if he's going to take, and at the last resort, if he declares martial law, I think all patriotic Americans should back him. Because martial law, to be temporary, probably wouldn't be a full martial law. It would just be where the troubled areas would be, and to take custody of these polling booths and hopefully lock up these scumbags who actually created this theft. And they need to be locked up anyway.
I agree.
Said,
the problem with election fraud in the past is that nobody ever gets punished for it. I mean, a few people have gone to jail, but it's a systemic problem. And again, I think one of Trump's biggest failures as president was to clean that system up. He should have fought the fight that we're fighting now 3 years ago.
I hope he understands that now, at least, because this has to be cleaned up. If he gets another 4 years, he has to clean this up before he leaves, because we can't afford to have this anymore. This is
we can't.
Right. This makes us look like total jokes to the world.
Yes.
And it really takes away from what this country once was. It's just not. I'm sorry. I even heard that O'Connell said, when you wake up in the 21st, one way or the other, you'll wake up in the greatest country. No, we won't. No, we won't. Especially if Biden is president. This will have to be the greatest country in the world. Not even close. If Trump gets it still, and we get some kind of, justice, yeah, certainly a great country still. I don't know about the greatest, because the fact that we have an election like this shows you there's something systematically
wrong. We're an
wrong.
empire in decline. The top levels have become so totally corrupted, it can't really function anymore.
We've got to do something about these billionaires. I've told you this before, Mike.
Yes.
Maybe I sound like a little bit of a socialist on this, but we've got to start seizing these people's enormous, mostly ill-gotten wealth. We've got to start seizing it and do it with taxes, but whatever it is, they use this money as weapons. That's the only reason I'd be against national health care, because I don't want these slime balls putting it together. If we're going to have something like this, I want honest people putting it together, and not only MDs, but like I'd like holistic and chiropractic health also put into nutritional, combined into it. Okay, not just the Rockefeller health system that they've unloaded on us for the last 100 years or so. All right, because it's all it does is want you to be medicated, and they want you to be sick for the most part, and just take.
They can make more money off of you. I mean, even Goldman Sachs said curing patients is a bad business model. Get them sick, and keep selling them treatments.
We got to do something about these monsters, Mike. We got to start seizing their money. We got to start putting some of them in prison where they belong. People like Gates, Bloomberg. I can go on and on with the kind of people.
We may see the return of the guillotine before this is all over.
Yeah, by the way, absolutely. I believe Zuckerberg is Gates' illegitimate son, by the way. If you look at them, they have a lot in common. Their mannerisms, their voice even looks a little bit like very nerdy-looking little nerd, very nerdy looking, and their mannerisms.
I used to be a nerd myself, so, let's go easy on that. I said I used to be a nerd myself, so let's go easy on that one. Had the pocket protector with all the pens in it and everything. All right, well, Mark, I'm going to let you... Sorry?
Okay, you take it easy.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I
Thanks
know.
an awful lot. And we're going to switch over to Joe in California. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
I agree totally with Mark with what he said about martial law. I would support that. It's not only the billionaires that have to be dealt with; it's the school curricula that has to be dealt with, from
Yes.
kindergarten on up. And as far as Lukashenko, I completely agree with Mark. I would rather have a patriotic dictator in my country than some Democrat who's a tool of the globalists. So completely agree with that. Mike, on my Facebook account was recently canceled, and I had never before gotten any warnings. I had recently posted something about Putin's lack of support to the Armenian side in Karabakh. Apparently, he did it because he wanted to teach the Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan a lesson. And I happen not to like Pashinyan. He's been known to have ties with Soros. He came to power in that color revolution in 2018.
Yes.
So Putin is very much against. He's very hostile towards any of these color revolutions, especially those in Russia's neighborhood. So I can't really disagree with Putin, but as an Armenian, I was upset for Russia's lack of support. But I had seen something on YouTube, Israel News Live, which is a pretty good channel, which was also critical of Putin for this stance, and they attributed it to his Chabad handlers. His Chabad Lubavitcher handlers, and I repeated this in my post. And with no warning, when I wanted to sign on again, it said your profile, your Facebook account has been deleted. So perhaps these Lubavitchers are the real shareholders of Facebook. Who knows? But I just want to say one last thing, Mike, about this war in Nagorno-Karabakh, and it really upsetted me greatly. Armenians around the world. In fact, there was a big march in Buenos Aires to the Israeli embassy. How Israel could sell cluster munitions and these kamikaze drones to Baku, and they're doing this because Baku is selling them oil, and they're also providing Israel with basing rights so they can spy on Iran, which is to the south. So, I mean, the government in Israel has no conscience. Selling weapons to a country that is engaging in ethnic cleansing of a people whose ancestors were victims of a genocide. So they have that common history. You would expect that this historical fact would cause Israel to ban all offensive weapon systems to Baku, but this would be asking too much of the Zionists. So I think there's also some resentment in Tel Aviv because Yerevan has friendly relations with Iran. But Armenia, if people have studied the country, it's in a geographical vice. The borders to the east and west are closed with Azerbaijan and Turkey. They're not relations with Georgia, although it's a Christian country, are not very friendly. So you can't blame Armenia for welcoming Tehran's embrace. But and also, unlike Israel, Armenia doesn't have this modern, sophisticated military where it's provided with billions of dollars by a world power annually. So when Iran offers a friendship, Armenia is in no position to check with Israel first. It has to, accept the friends that it can get. But that's, the whole Armenian community is disgusted with the position that Israel's taken. And we have many friends in Israel, many good people in Israel. They were demonstrating against this. In fact, a lot of Jewish Armenians who immigrated to Israel, they were out in the street protesting against their government's selling of weapons to Azerbaijan. Our beef is with the government of Israel. From Netanyahu, the Ministry of Defense, their weapons industry. It just seems like, the almighty dollar is all that matters, and these weapons that they were selling to the Azeris were being used on civilian, residential civilian areas, churches, cultural buildings, civilian infrastructure. So just wanted to get that out. So thank you, Mike.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, Michael. Aloha. Good day to you. That show yesterday, I didn't get the call in, but it was pretty cool. That was a fireworks show there. Yeah, listen, Mike. What I want to say is, and before I get to Dave in Boston, I want to talk about what's happened here in Florida. The Miami Herald just reported yesterday. I didn't get a chance to call, but yesterday there was an article in there that Michael Bloom Doomberg spent $100 million in Florida to get 13,000 votes. Okay? He was paying for all these felons to get out of jail and all these other criminal activities, and it cost him $100 million to get 13,000 more votes for bumbling buffoonery Biden. You got Tom Steyer spent $55 million, and he spent $55 million in Georgia. What Stacey Abrams pact. Stacey Abrams has a pact in Georgia to register all these blacks to vote Democrat, and the Democrats never did crap for the blacks. The blacks, however, the males, I believe, voted 18%. The women, I believe, Mike, I heard 6% or 7%. Can't remember that. But getting back to now you have Mitch McConnell in Kentucky, where you had George Soros, spent $80 million with his pact. All these are Zionist Zog agents that are trying to take our government down, Mike. Okay? Now, we're not even talking about all these other rich Zogs, and you got a lot of supposedly Christian, whatever, so-called rats. I told you, the men of tyranny. The men of tyranny are trying to destroy the men of liberty. And that's what's happening right to this country right now. It is the sons of liberty battling the sons of tyranny. The Republicans are liberty. The demon rats are the sons of tyranny. What's going on is appalling. But here, Mike, I'm going to tell you what's going on really. These white women in this country in some of these states are like weather vanes. They're weather vanes. You know what a weather vane is, right, Mike?
Yes, of course I do.
Okay, a vane goes whatever way the wind blows. And that's what these white women have done to their white male counterparts. They have literally backstabbed their white male counterparts in these swing states. Okay, like Arizona, you got Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and all these states. You have weather vane women, I call them. That's a new name for these white women, or white weather vanes. They're weather vanes, and they're destructive, and they're destroying our country with their liberal nonsense. If this is only up to men to vote, Donald Trump would have won in a massive landslide. Probably 95% of the vote would have went to Donald Trump. It was all black and white Hispanic men. But now that it's women involved, they are not using logic, they're using emotion. And that's the problem we're facing in this country in the future. That's exactly what we're facing in this country when the women, the white women especially, are backstabbing their white male counterparts in this country. Okay? Now, Mike, I want to get to this guy, Dave, in Boston. All I've heard from this guy for months and months, and Dustin and all these, is that Trump is this and that. Now I'm going to hear, if these guys ever call your show again, I want to tell me how great Joe Biden is, what Joe Bumbling Biden has done. What is he going to do for this country that Trump hasn't done with the vaccine and every other thing, Dave?
Okay, you're in luck because David in Boston is the next caller.
Good. And I want to tell Dave, all we hear is Dave bashing people, okay, to call your show to have conservative viewpoints. This guy says, Lord, well, you know, it probably is a lot of Jewish conspiracy going on here, Dave. But you know what? You want the worst of two evils here? Did you really want that bumbling buffoon Biden, who's kissing the butt of China and his son, stealing multiple millions of dollars, Dave? Okay? If Donald Trump's sons would have done anything like Hunter Biden, this would have been on every stinking network, Dave. And your state of New England states where you come out of, Dave, all those white women over there are all kooks. They're all nuts. They're all crackpots. You name me one state in Mike, in New England where a white woman is voting for a conservative viewpoints. Where, Mike? Tell me. One state, not even New Hampshire, which I thought Trump had a chance at. So this guy, Dave, that calls your show all the time, screaming, bumbling about how bad Trump is. Look at your own state with Blumenthal, Dick Blumenthal. You got Bernie Sanders. They don't even make up 3% of those states, and these Jews are all taking all these states, Dave. Yeah, Trump's got to kiss the butt of Israel, but like a couple callers said, who doesn't? Who doesn't? Come on, seriously, Dave. Who's not?
Okay, well, okay, Tom.
Tell me the truth, Dave. And you know,
Tom,
I
calm
got to say
down.
one more thing.
Calm
I'll let you
down.
go.
Calm down. Take a Valium. Calm down.
Because I'm going to hear this Dustin and Dave. I want them
And
to
we
tell
got to
me how
take a break
great.
for our commercials here. So thank you for the phone call, Tom. We'll be back with David in Boston after these few words.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We are living in dangerous days, and I am frightened by what you say. It chills right to the core, this talk of holy war.
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to David in Boston. And David, your ears must be burning. What's on your mind today?
Oh, hi, Mike. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine. You're on the air.
Hey, Mike. Going back to last Friday, Lady Claire was on with you.
Yes.
You remember?
Yes.
Yeah. And I called in and so I said, you know, Lady, I said Lady Claire, I'm convinced Lady Claire taught Stephen Cohen everything he knows. And I heard Claire, you know, laughing and giggling in the background. And
yes.
I said, and now I want to say that with Layla, I think Layla taught Hanan Ashrawi everything that she knows. So I was the first one that mentioned Layla's name. So anyways, Mike, then I began to speak, and I didn't hear what you said, but, so I had to ask you to repeat it. And what you said was, well, Layla's on the line. Layla's the next caller after you.
Yes.
And I said, what did you say, Mike? What? And you had to repeat. And you once again you said Layla's on the line after you. And my response to that was, oh, great. Yeah, I'd love to hear from Layla. And I really wound up my call, Mike. And so Miles from Maine, somehow he misconstrued that you were telling me to get off the line, to hang up because Layla's waiting,
No, that wasn't what I was trying to do
my
there.
call was very brief because I did want to hear from Layla, and then when Miles did get on the phone, there he was saying that he didn't say limit me to 3 minutes. He said limit the callers. In other words, all the callers to 3 minutes. Now, you can go back on the archives and listen to it. He said you should limit the callers to 3 minutes. He didn't say you should limit me from Boston to 3 minutes. So then that's when I brought up Layla. Layla, she's teaching us so much, and she has so much to say that that's when I brought up Layla's name. That's ridiculous to limit Layla to 3 minutes. But now regarding Mike, let me ask you, and if you don't remember, I don't know how good your memory is, but you can ask Claire if what I'm saying is the truth, or you can listen on the archives. But do you remember that, Mike? When you remember when I said that?
Vaguely, I don't memorize the shows. I'd have to go back to the playback on there, and because I don't remember, what I said from one day to the next, unless somebody's we go back to the recording here. And by the way, the reason that sometimes we talk over each other is there is a little bit of a delay when I'm talking and it gets to RBN and it goes out on the phone system or the internet. And the same thing when you're talking to me, there's a bit of a delay. And so sometimes it sort of makes it sound like we're trying to talk over each other. But, we just have to we all have to pay attention and be courteous.
So, okay, Mike, but Claire, you might not even have to go back to the archives, Mike, because Claire, like I said, Claire was on the show, and I'm certain Claire will remember me saying that Layla taught Hanan Ashrawi everything that she knows.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why you mentioned Layla's name a couple of times, not to rush me or not to, this is a complete mischaracterization.
Okay.
Miles, like
David from Boston speaks take 2.
Yeah, Mike?
Yes.
Can I? Yeah, no, as far as Tom goes, from Florida, he wants to be sexist. I won't say a sexist chauvinist pig. I'll just say he wants to be sexist. He wants to denigrate all the white women up here in New England.
Yeah.
He wants to paint them all with a broad brush, that all the New England women, like the woman from the Vermont country store that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, they're no good. Those white women up in Vermont are no good. I'll tell you something, Mike. You know what? For him to denigrate women up here in New England, you know what he reminded me of? He reminded me of a little schoolgirl that saw a snake. He was as hysterical as a little schoolgirl that has just seen a snake. So before you start denigrating our great white woman up here in New England, Tom from Florida, why don't you get a hold of yourself and stop being hysterical like a little schoolgirl that just saw a snake?
Okay, sounds like a good suggestion. We all need to tone down the hysteria because that's just going to put us faster onto a path of chaos in the streets, which I do not approve of. Anyway, David, we got to take another commercial break, so thank you very much for your phone call. And we're going to be back with more phone calls after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
After about a month of Extendovite, I don't know what it is about the circulation factor. I was able to increase the weight, increase the amount of sets I could do. It has to do with the oxygen getting to the blood. You should market this as an athletic performance. And I don't change anything about my diet or anything. I just thought, this is amazing. Bilberry extract is got something called resveratrol in it, which is the same stuff that you get from red wine. It's also good for eyesight. And I was reading that the Royal Air Force during World War II would give their pilots bilberry jam so they could have better night vision stuff. This is amazing.
To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cashingproperty.com. That's cashingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
Welcome back to our show here, and we're going to go back to the phones here, and some of the lines are open. If you tried earlier and you could not get through, now's a good time to try again. And, oh, wait a minute, I just was told that the lines happen to be full. Okay, let's go to Kelly in Austin. Hello, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi there, Mike. I hadn't talked to you in a while. I heard your comments about ham radio today.
Yes.
Okay, and let me tell you what I think is going on. I earned my general license this year, and so I operate on both the UHF, VHF spectrum, and all the HF spectrum, and all the HF bands as well. The FCC has been looking for a way to make money on the bands.
Yes.
And there's been some discussion of trying to sell off portions of those bands to the high-tech companies, Amazon in other words. And in other words, to sell off part of those bands that have been allocated for decades to ham radio users. Recently they floated a proposal to start charging for a ham license. Well, it's like $5 a year. I mean, that wouldn't kill me to pay that, but it looks like they're scrambling around trying to find money anywhere they can, and they wouldn't hesitate to try to take away some of that bandwidth some of those bands or some bandwidth away from ham users.
Well, they did it a
ham
few years
operators,
ago with, I think it was the 10-meter band.
Well, I don't know because the 10-meter band is a difficult band to operate on right now because of the atmospheric conditions, solar conditions. I'm not sure what they took away, but there's a lot of bandwidth in the 10-meter bands. Whatever they took away didn't seem to hurt. Didn't seem to hurt that very much.
Okay, I may be wrong on which band was taken away.
Yeah, but where it might really hurt is if they take out a big chunk of the UHF and VHF bands, because a lot of people, most every ham operator has, if you have an HT and you'll operate on those bands a lot, and that would really hurt, especially if they decide, well, we're going to come in here and decide that you have to shut down a lot of these repeaters, which would limit you to operating simplex, radio to radio.
Yes.
I'm not sure I see anything sinister in it right now, but I can tell you that there is concern that if you get a draconian government, that they could try to do what they might try to limit access to the bands, but that's it's going to be very difficult to do that in the HF spectrum, because I can go out and I can operate CW, send Morse code or whatever, and that's hard to track. I can go out and put up an antenna somewhere and then talk to people around the world. And there probably are people in the government who don't want that happening, especially if they want to regulate what you hear. But right now, I don't think there's anything really sinister behind that. I think perhaps whoever wrote that article may have misinterpreted what we've been reading and hearing from other hams. But,
well, that was the motive was my commentary here, and I just did a quick web search for FCC takes away ham band, and apparently next year they're going to be taking away the 9-centimeter microwave band from amateurs and give it to or sell it to somebody else here, and
the 9-centimeter band. That's way out on the end there, though. Yeah. I mean, right now, most in the UHF VHF spectrum, you got the 120, the 2-meter, you got the 70-centimeter, and then you got the 444.
Okay.
Most people are really operating primarily in the 2-meter band. Now, a big development in ham radio lately has been the advent of DMR, digital mobile radio, which allows you to get onto to talk long distances all the time, using a hotspot / your own personal repeater by tying into the internet. So you have an HT, and then you tie into your hotspot. You can talk to people all over the world. The problem with that is that it's internet dependent, and if government decides it wants to shut down the internet, then you're screwed. Now all those HTs have got analog capability too. So if they knock that out, well, you can go to analog. But if government decides it wants to shut down the repeaters, then you're going to be limited to line of sight.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's communications. So a sinister government could do that. But I think it would backfire on them badly if they tried anything like that right now, really. Anyway,
all right.
That caught my attention, and thanks for bringing it up.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot for the phone call, and we're going to switch over to David in West Virginia. Hello, David. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Actually, I'm right in sync with your last caller. You mentioned earlier in the show about the ham radio. And it reminded me of a story that's been in the news here recently. The U.S. government had, I forget the word they used, confiscated, shut down 27 or something Iranian sites because they were terrorists or whatever. But the point is, if they can shut down Iranian sites, they can shut down American sites.
Yes.
And I think the organization that does that is Internic. Is that correct? Okay, well, apparently, obviously, the United States runs Internic. because the United States can decide what sites are going to be up and Iran can't. And not only do we need to keep things like ham radio in mind, but also, I'm old enough to remember before the internet, computer bulletin boards.
Yes.
And that's another technology that we need to keep our mind on in case they start trying to shut down this site and that site. And there was a site here a while back, a white nationalist site of some kind, maybe it was Stormfront.
Yeah.
Got shut down for a short period of time and then came back up. But the point is, I mean, it's one thing for a place like Facebook to censor people. You can argue, well, that's their company, they can censor who they want. But when it's the government actually shutting down entire websites, that's a whole nother level of magnitude there. And it is just something that, of course, they're going to present it as this is to make money. Oh, we need money. Well, the amount of money they're going to get off this is less than one nuclear submarine.
Far less than one nuclear submarine.
So the money angle, I think, is an excuse. And what they're really trying to do is gain control of communication. And,
I would agree.
They don't want anything out there that they can't control. And as far as it goes, we also need to pay attention to something like an email tree. If you know what a phone tree is.
Yes.
Email would be, as much as we rely on email these days, it would be very difficult to shut down email. And
well, I'm getting emails myself from people who say that emails they are sending with politically incorrect content, talking about Trump, talking about election fraud, is somehow not reaching its destination. So I think that filters are already being put in place on the email system.
Well, I just read an article about Yahoo doing that.
Okay.
But to me, I don't understand why anybody would use an email service that admits they scan the content, not just the metadata, but the content of your email, which Yahoo admits that. And there are just a number of good email providers that don't.
Yes.
But yeah, well, and nothing is foolproof. Can they shut down email? Sure. Can they shut down websites? Sure. Can they shut down ham radio? As you mentioned, they can jam it. But it's just we need to keep as many options open as possible. Because
I agree. We have to keep the communications going. Remember, over in the Soviet Union, concerned citizens there set up what was called the samizdat, which was a network of fax machines. And, they didn't have home computers back then. And the way it worked is that somebody would write an article and feed it into their fax machine, which would send it on to 10 other fax machines, where it would be read and retransmitted to another 10 fax machines. And it worked, across the entire country, and the Soviets tried to shut it down, and they couldn't.
Well, that's what I mentioned when I said phone trees earlier. That's basically the same thing. I send you a message, and you have 10 people you send it to, and they each have 10 people they send it to, and get the message out that way. But anyway, I'm going to let it go there. But one thing I'd like to say, I'm new to this show. And maybe I don't understand the protocols, but it seems to me like we, the callers, would be better served if we stuck to issues and spent less time attacking other callers.
I agree. I'm trying to discourage that. And we need to talk about the politics, science, health, things like that, and stop calling each other names. And, in the spirit of the First Amendment, I try not to interfere, but it's rapidly coming up on the point where I'm going to have to start exercising a little bit of my own tyranny on some of the callers.
Well, it's your show, and I appreciate it being here, and do what you got to do.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Joe in Tennessee. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Well, I agree with that caller about all the bickering. And I do think that a 3-minute rule would work also, especially in times like this with everything that's going on. I would like to tell Mr. Trump something if he's listening. Do not allow Sergeant Schultz's Justice Department with Barr to investigate anything, to have anything to do with this election. I mean, this is the Department of Justice that tried a coup against you, and it still has the same people in there that have never been punished. Half of them are still working there. I mean, who trusts the FBI and the DOJ? I don't want them looking into this election. Do your own investigations, use the courts, and then use the state legislatures. The FBI and the DOJ are absolutely thoroughly corrupt. I see these conservatives going, oh, Bill Barr's going to look into it. Bill Barr, really? He's going to bring justice. Sure he is. Maybe Ray can assist him. Anyway, I'll leave that part of my comment. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Trump firing Esper.
Yes.
Mark called in and said that he thinks that's for martial law. I think it's because Trump knows that he's got all the goods to have this election overturned. And when this election is overturned, he's going to need to declare martial law because the left is going to riot. They're already prepared to riot. They were going to riot if Biden lost. How much worse do you think it'll be if as the left will say, they stole the election from Biden and gave it to Trump? Oh, my God, they're going to be in the streets, and then you can't have a Defense Department head of chief who says he's not going to call out the troops. So this is a preemptive, it's one of his first, axe jobs, firings, and I hope he goes after Ray, Haskell, and Barr in the next few days, and I also hope he releases all the documents, release every freaking document, Mr. Trump, and I'll leave it at that, Mike, so other callers can get through. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for the call, and we're going to switch over to Layla in Canada. And Layla, welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Mike. Joe mentioned that he was surprised that Jews were not more sympathetic to the suffering of the Armenians because of the Armenian genocide perpetrated by Turkey. What people don't know is that the actual leader, Kemal Ataturk, was actually a crypto Jew, a Donmed Jew, and all of those who were known as the Young Turks were also part of the crypto Jews that pretended to be Muslim, but were actually Masons as well as crypto Jews. And they were followers of the false messiah, Sabbatai Zvi. And also, Jews were not in the past all one monolithic, similar thinking group. There was another group, the Chabad Lubavitch, that Joe referred to. They actually originated in the Russian Empire, then went to Poland, and then now they're headquartered in the U.S. And they used to be anti-Zionist, but they now, they straddle the fence.
Yes.
And will support Zionism on some issues and oppose it on others. But anyway, it's not so clear cut who was responsible for the Armenian genocide, but also the same group, the Young Turks and Kemal Ataturk, the Jew, also tormented and drove out the Greek Orthodox from the Anatolian Peninsula, and they suffered tremendously. And that is the origins or the continuing hostility between today's Turkey and the Greeks. Anyway, I hope that explains it a little bit.
Okay. So thank you for the phone call. And we're going to switch over to Miles in Maine. And Miles, I may have to take you through the commercial break. What's on your mind?
Wow. Aloha, Michael. That was just an awesome call by Layla. She's exactly right. I mean, her history on that. And if you ever look into Christopher John Bjorkins, he goes into that quite a bit. But God, Layla is really knocking it out of the park on that history again. Awesome job. Joe was right on. Joe was right on with that. I agree with everything he said. Get rid of No Balls Barr. I mean, what the hell do we got him in here screwing around for? He's never done anything. He hasn't investigated anything else. He's just going to go in there and pad it. So, like he had already said, he already doesn't think there were any irregularities. I mean, I mean, what percentage would he be in with of the population? 30%? I mean, how ridiculous.
No, Barr is going to go
No,
through
I
the
hate to-
motions of an investigation, and then he's going to announce that nothing was found. The good news is Judicial Watch is now launching their own investigations all across the country.
Well, and I've been waiting for them to get involved for a while. And if you recall, Michael, I had brought up the other day about Trump offering a reward, and now it seems Project Veritas has been in agreement with that, and now they're going to be offering up a $25,000 reward. And
Yes.
I think now you're really going to see the fur flying now, because $25,000 even in this day and age still means a lot with Christmas coming to these people.
Oh, absolutely.
And, finally,
especially with all the struggling because of COVID. Listen, we're coming up here on a commercial break. Do you have anything more for us, Miles?
Yeah, I wanted to get around to Dave because this is just ridiculous. with
Okay, well,
Dave.
then stay on the
Now he
line.
comes on and makes-
Stay on the line, Miles.
Okay.
Stay on the line. We're going to put you on hold, and we'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Amazon customer, 5 out of 5 stars. I'm quite happy about it. This product has relieved what appears to be an angina problem, pain in the chest after climbing stairs, and short on breath. I'm quite happy about it. Dr. Sam Surreal. Good product and ingredients. Kept my blood pressure normal after mild heart attack in 2015. Switched to plant-based diet, also to reverse atherosclerosis. John Bispicos, 5 out of 5 stars. Built up my immune system. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant 'em anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well,
Welcome back to our show here, and we're finishing up with Miles real quick because we got a bunch of callers and we're at pretty much the end of the show. So Miles, take it away.
Yeah, so Dave's assertion yesterday was that I was trying to tell Paul, New Jersey, what to do and trying to shut down Layla from talking. Both assertions were false. Instead of him apologizing, he comes back, with today's diatribe, and I feel like I'm talking to Joe Biden.
Okay.
He comes on with this stuff today, and then he makes another claim, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, Dave, really, what's going on with you? I mean, are you missing your medication or what's happening? And I mean that in all seriousness. Listen to what you say. You said after the call yesterday after the call Friday with Layla that you just hung up the phone. No, you kept going on, and that's why I said we need a 3-minute rule, specifically because of you, Dave. And
well, I'm getting a lot of email from people saying that putting a hard limit on calls would be a good idea, and I want to think about that long and hard. Anyway, Miles, I need to let you go.
I'd like to take a little credit. I'd like to take a little credit for that, Michael. I brought that up.
Okay, well, you can take all the credit that you want. Okay, we're going to let you go here.
Okay, let me. I'd like to finish.
Gotta let you go, Miles. We're out of time. We're going to go to Doc in Illinois. Hello, Doc. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I know this earlier at the start of the show today. You got a story about that audio recording I mentioned yesterday of that the pole instructor at in Michigan.
Yes.
Yes, that's pretty neat how that one's unfolding. And I wanted to talk about that lady on Twitter who was talking about how her mom had gotten a ballot requested in her maiden name. Her name is actually Lauren. Her Twitter account has just been suspended. I don't know how long it's been like that for. But
well, imagine my shot.
Now that she's, I think it's pretty crazy now that she's gotten some pretty good evidence on that. Now she's taken down. I know she's on Parler, so if you got Parler, you could check her out on there.
Parlay. It's pronounced parlay.
That's all I wanted to talk about, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, well then let's switch over to Doreen in Vancouver. And Doreen, I'm sorry to shortcut you, but we only got a couple minutes left. What's on your mind?
Oh, well, I've got important news, so it's only going to take me a few minutes. But there's a website with Charlie Ward, who used to be a money change mover for governments and rich people. But he's been saying all along, Trump has expected this, and what he's got that lady judge he brought in, because she verified it. All the ballots that went out, they've got a hidden watermark in there with a number on it, and it can be detected from space.
That story's been debunked.
Letting them all just fall into.
Okay, Doreen, gotta let you go. Doreen, we have to let you go. The music is playing. It's time to get on out of here. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller's show. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Please spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We are in a war right now for the future of this republic, and we need your help to keep going. So we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.